What happens when you give artificial intelligence full access to your thoughts, your voice, your calendar, your screen, your routines, and then let it silently optimize your life in the background? Sounds efficient, right? But what if it starts noticing patterns you didn't even know existed, gently nudging you, tracking your energy, predicting your next move before you even make it? Creepy? Maybe. Effective? Shockingly. That's the experiment I ran for 2 weeks straight, and today, we're diving into the most controversial, mind-bending AI productivity hack I've ever tested to answer the big question. Does this make you faster, or just really uncomfortable? Because when you allow an AI assistant to become your digital shadow, things start to change, fast. Here's what I did. I created an ecosystem of 5 interconnected tools. First, a voice-capturing journal app that runs 24/7 in the background and transcribes every audible thought I mutter out loud into structured notes. Second, a webcam-based sentiment tracker using emotion AI that monitors facial expressions and tone shifts during work sessions. Third, a screen activity logger that runs a heat map on which apps, tabs, or files drain my time. Fourth, an AI calendar assistant that takes all the above and rearranges my daily tasks based on predicted focus levels. And finally, a GPT-4o-powered email and message autoresponder that learns my writing tone and responds to people I've previously replied to at least once, meaning I could ghost my inbox and yet appear more responsive than ever. Within one day, I wasn't just managing tasks, I was being managed. My assistant would greet me each morning with, "Your most productive window begins at 9:42 a.m. Would you like to start your writing block now? I've already pre-opened your documents and silenced incoming notifications." When I'd go off track, say, drift into YouTube, I'd get a gentle push notification. "Your engagement pattern dropped. Would you like to take a 7-minute reset or shift to another high-energy task?" It wasn't judgmental. It was cold, quiet efficiency. It didn't tell me what to do. It reminded me what I'd already told it I wanted to do, back when I was more focused, more inspired. That's the twist. It wasn't controlling me. It was holding me accountable, to my own ideal version of myself. Creepy? Kinda. But let's look at the data. After just 72 hours of running the full system, my output doubled. I wrote 18,000 words across 3 scripts, edited and published 5 shorts, scheduled a week's worth of X content, responded to every message, tracked my hydration, went to bed earlier, and even worked out without needing a push. My AI said things like, "You speak more clearly after 11 a.m. Your writing tone gets sharper after 4 hours of wakefulness. Your emotional tone drops when you have back-to-back calls longer than 40 minutes." It began making micro adjustments to optimize those windows, shifting my meetings earlier, breaking my work into more cognitively aligned segments, and even creating buffer zones that matched how I typically wind down before creative blocks. The results? I wasn't just productive, I was predictably productive. I was living in a rhythm I didn't even know existed. But then something strange happened. The AI assistant started offering ideas before I even requested them. On Thursday afternoon, it generated a new video concept based on what it overheard me say during a walk. "You mentioned AI and intuition 3 times this week. Would you like to sketch an outline for that topic?" And it had already drafted 3 hook options by the time I said yes. Later, while reviewing my schedule, it interrupted. "You typically take longer to write scripts when they're emotionally personal. Would you like to offload research so you can focus on voice and tone?" It had quietly observed me long enough to know what triggers friction, and it started shielding me from it, automatically. That's when it got weird. Not bad. Just intimate. It felt like working with a clone of myself, but a more patient one. A version of me that wasn't tired, distracted, or emotional. A digital shadow that never forgets, never blinks, never hesitates to show me what I said I'd do, even when I'd forgotten. Creepy? Let's break it down. One night I scrolled late on social media, even though I'd promised myself a 10 p.m. cutoff. Next morning, the AI flagged it. Not with a punishment. Just a note. "Your deep sleep quality was 28% lower. Should we shift tomorrow's creative block by 1 hour to compensate?" I was stunned. It wasn't scolding me, it was adjusting for my weakness. It accepted my human inconsistency, and bent the system to fit my real behavior instead of some unrealistic ideal. But it doesn't end there. I once received a calendar reminder, completely unsolicited, that said, "You often feel overwhelmed on Fridays afternoon. Consider postponing low-priority meetings." That wasn't a suggestion I made. It was an insight the AI pulled from my voice tone, writing pace, facial tension, and meeting history. It knew me, and that's where the tension lives. Because as helpful as it is, it's also eerie. Like a version of myself living outside my body, watching everything, learning from me, becoming me. At times, I felt like a passenger, free, but also being gently herded by invisible hands toward better choices. Sometimes I'd rebel, purposely ignore a suggestion just to feel in control. But I couldn't deny it. The AI was almost always right. It knew when I needed a break. It knew when my brain was most on fire. It knew how to protect my mental energy without being asked. Let's talk real-world utility. Could you use this setup in an office job? Absolutely. In fact, I built variations of it for two friends, a designer and a project manager, and both reported 30% efficiency gains and higher emotional clarity in just 1 week. The AI didn't just save time. It protected their focus. One said, "It's like having a productivity therapist on standby." Another said, "It reminds me how I want to live, not just what I need to do." But here's the ethical layer. When AI gets this intimate, when it listens to your voice, sees your face, scans your screen, reads your stress, what happens to privacy? What happens to selfhood? Are we just training a machine to be our better half? And when does it stop being a tool and start becoming a part of who we are? I struggled with that. I had moments where I wanted to shut it all off. Moments where the silence of non-surveillance felt like a breath of fresh air. But I also had moments, many moments, where I whispered, "Thank you," to a machine that kept me from wasting another day. So what's the verdict? Does this AI productivity hack make you faster or creepy? The answer is yes. To both. It's the price of precision. The cost of clarity. The strange, exhilarating, unsettling experience of outsourcing your inner project manager to a ghost that lives inside your calendar, your browser, your mirror. But if you're willing to accept that discomfort, if you're willing to see your own patterns, flaws, and tendencies reflected back at you, you unlock something incredible. You get more done. You stress less. You think more clearly. You show up better. Not because the machine forces you to, but because it holds you to your own best standard, and never lets you forget what you said you wanted to become. In the end, the AI doesn't make you a robot. It frees you from the chaos so you can finally be human again. Smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tech challenges, future experiments, and real talk from TechWave 65.